Hey guys, welcome to another planty video. I am finally ready to give you guys a tour of the temporary space that I've been using to store some of my plants while the greenhouse gets going. So it did not take more than a month to get this space looking like a jungle. Come tour with me and see how my variegated gloriosa, my platinum luxurians, and a couple other rare plants, well, rare in Trinidad anyway, are doing, how they are liking it. And be sure to stick around till the end of the video because I'll tell you all exactly where I bought all of them. And you know what? Comment below. Let me know what's your wish list plant. Maybe I'll be able to find it for you and we'll get in touch. So let's get started. It took me just under a month to fill this space out. I had to be really conscious of picking and choosing which plants actually come into here first. Believe it or not, it's not filled with only favorites. I had to be really selective because some plants need a lot more care than others, and basically the priority went like that. So propagations came in, really sensitive plants came in, ones that I couldn't keep up with the watering came in, as well as plants that I had for sale. So in no time, this space filled out pretty quickly as always have a number of propagations going, and those are pretty bulky to store. I have those going just as a backup in case my mother plants, just cave on me someday, but the space is filled with those types of plants basically. Just to give you guys a little background for those who missed my greenhouse videos, this storage space actually sits next to the greenhouse space on your right, so I'm trying to acclimate them inside of here as well, just to get accustomed to the conditions that they will eventually be in. And it receives west-facing light from, I would say, 2 p.m. So it gets pretty bright in here, and this is just the general layout. What I intend to do is go through each and every plant with you guys. If I don't know the name, I'll put it up on the screen, but I will show you exactly which ones I brought and explain why as I do so. And hopefully you guys can have a good appreciation of what I'm trying to achieve in terms of getting these ready for the greenhouse first. And maybe I'll do a tour of what I left back. If you're interested in that, let me know so you'll know which ones actually are more resilient, I would say, and are faring well. I'm just going to quickly get all the boring stuff out. That's the non-planty stuff. I'm also storing this mini greenhouse in here as I am preparing to repot my anthurium seedlings that I've grown from seed, and those will require greenhouse conditions. So I've set that up to basically grow them in. This is the mix that I'm going to use, and I will reveal the recipe in an upcoming video that is dedicated for the growth of anthurium seedlings from seed. And basically, these are the seedlings. They are Ace of Spades hybrids. When I bought the mother plant, which is an Ace of Spades hybrid, it came with an already pollinated inflow. So I'm unaware of who or which plant is the pollen parent. So I'm super excited to guess the ID later on with these. There are some other seedlings, my Anthurium vitrifolium seedlings that I've grown from seed that was self-pollinated in the garden as well. Okay, on to the plants. The first one is my Monstera albo. Each one of these in here, including this one, has some sort of sensitivity. With respect to this albo, I could not keep up with the watering, so I eventually had to just bite the bullet and lay it horizontally in my van and drive probably 20 miles per hour to get it home safely. It is basically telling me that it was unhappy because I've seen brown spots that only surface for me if I miss a watering. So those are coming back. I'm so glad it hasn't like just taken over the entire plant. I missed a good few waterings with this one, so I expected a lot more browning, but I believe the silica applications has something to do with preserving the variegation, and I'm so happy. Behind the elbow is a couple Syngonium batik. These were propagations, so I want to stay on top of the watering similarly. This is my lace fern. Again, I had to keep up with the watering. I'm so happy this put out a new leaf actually. Well, a new leaf is on the way, and that happened in this space. This is my Melano that needs a pole extension badly, but it has put out this new leaf in here as well. So I'm pretty happy about how those are responding. This is my massive Philodendron gigas. I recently cut my mother plant in half, and that was the top cut. I want to make sure that grows properly. Here is my Cebu Blue Ghost. This one has a lot of white variation, similar to the Epipremnum marble, if you're familiar with that one. I have struggled with this one in terms of getting it to size up, but recently I decided to chop and prop it, and this is the top cut from, well, my mother plant, I guess, and it's growing primarily on this cococoya pole with no pot of roots to the bottom. It is well established in the cococoya, so I'll keep you guys posted on how this one progresses. I'm doubling back just to show you my gigas, which is also only growing on a cococoya pole. However, the bottom nodes, I removed those two leaves to hopefully root those nodes in soil. I will show you an actual example when I get to my philodendron white knight. So just to show you that you can grow plants out of soil and just on poles alone, they once they're rooted into the pole, they should fare fine. In front of my gigas is the philodendron Andriana. This is a rooted butt cut, and I'll show you the top cut shortly. So just to reiterate, those were propagations that I really want to keep an eye on. That's why I brought them in here. We're going to move on to the first shelving unit that has 4 levels of plants on it. And first up is my Synapsis platinum. This one is pretty long, and I would admit this one is a favorite. It definitely is, but I could not keep up with the watering. That's why I had to bring it in here. This one trails all the way to the floor. It is quite leggy and the foliage isn't as dense as I would like it, so I'm probably going to chop it back and prop it and maybe fill out a bigger pot. I do have over a dozen propagations of this already. I just absolutely love this plant and I want to create a towering display in the house. I also have some for sale, but the majority of them I want to create a display inside the house. Next to it is my Alocasia scalprum. This one grows in semi-hydro, and I gotta keep up with the watering fit as well. It only has 3 leaves on it. I recently cut off an inflow. I'm really not interested in Alocasia inflows. It really just takes so much energy away from the plant and its ability to push out foliage. So I cut that off. This is my Anthurium villanorum, and this is the newest leaf since I brought it in here. It did started growing in the original garden, but it's hardened off bigger than the rest, so I'm happy for that. It's got 4 leaves on it, and if you're looking for an alternative to the Queen Anthurium, I definitely recommend this one. It's so much more easy care. Just a side note, the plants are pretty banged up from being neglected with the move and, just trying to adjust to these new conditions. But, there is so much hope I am seeing in here with all these new leaves. That's my Anthurium no ID. I bought it as a King of Spades, but it's not that. I'm not sure what the ID is on it. This next to it, though, is my Anthurium Doriaki Silver. These last two aren't showing signs of unhappiness. This one is actually pushing a new leaf, so I'm happy for that. But most of them have gotten some sort of physical damage from me not being on site to really monitor what's going on there. And then the iguanas passing through and fruit dropping. For example, this one has gotten ripped in a good few places. So, those that are susceptible to getting physically damaged, I also brought in. This is my Anthurium crystallinum by Magnificum hybrid. The veins literally glow. On the shelf below is my Anthurium Bessie Af by Red Crystallinum hybrid. This leaf on the side here grew in here, and I'm so happy that it is bigger than the rest. It tells me, that the plant is happy, and it's just given me hope that these conditions aren't going to be too terrible. In front of it is my Queen Anthurium, the dark form. I've had this about 3 years, and this is the biggest it has ever gotten for me. Finally, this year it started pushing leaves, so I'm hoping to size it up. Next to it is my Philodendron gloriosum, the variegated one, and that leaf also grew in here, and it's the first new leaf in my care. And the oldest leaf dropped off, but I'm not too worried about that because it was the oldest leaf, and I'm also super happy to see that the variegation has not started browning or any other stress signs. This is my Anthurium veitchii narrow form that completely went down, so I brought it down here to start rehabbing it. Hopefully it'll come back. To the front of it is my Anthurium luxurians. It put out two new leaves in here and it actually went down at my old space. Behind it is my RVDP by Luxurians hybrid as well as my Ace of Spades dark form. That's the one with the browning tip. That's doing terrible in here, but it was also doing terrible at the old space. And finally on the shelf, I just have a little propagation of my Aglionema pictum tricolor that the iguana completely took out, so I'm trying to bring that one back. On the shelf below that is another Anthurium Ace of Spades hybrid that I got from the San Antonio Farms. It's a propagation that I have going there. This is my Alocasia Mellow, and next to it is my Monstera Albo Swedish Ghost. It's doing really well in here, putting out two new leaves and no signs of browning, so I'm really happy with that one. Below that shelf is my Monstera adansonii Swedish Ghost. This mutated in my garden. I originally bought it as an albo and it started pushing out growth just like a Swedish Ghost. So the mutation happened here that I confirmed with others who have the same plant internationally. Next to it is my Alocasia Jacqueline that I'm forever struggling with. It's on one leaf and I'm hoping a second will come soon. This is my philodendron white knight. I'm hoping this little setup that I've created for it really brings it back to life, but basically it rotted at the base and I'm trying to reestablish it. Luckily, the upper part of the plant was already established in the cococoya pole, so I added some moss to encourage rooting because I found it still was not hydrating properly even though it was rooted into the cococoya pole. I also put the base nodes into soil that you saw originally. Next to that shelf is another shelf that has my variegated Alocasia Frydek. This one is doing really well. It really shocked me in terms of how easy care it has been. It has lost some variegation, but I'm not too bothered about it because I find this plant in general just does that and then it comes back with a lot of variegation. So I'm not really too worried. To the back is my variegated synapsis as well as my variegated micans. Well, that synapsis is actually synapsis jade satin a Syndapsis pictus jade satin aurea variegata. And this is a silver sword, not the philodendron. I'll have to put the name up on the screen for you guys for that. This is a Calathea wasweshii. Next to both of those is my Alocasia Silver Dragon. This one is doing really well here, shockingly. It has actually put out two new pups and a new leaf. So I'm really happy about that. It is growing in semi-hydro. And below that is my Philodendron Fibrocataphyllum. Now, I know all these names are pretty long. On my Instagram profile, every single plant that is in my collection is there with the proper name. Next to those is my Philodendron Bullmaxia. No, what am I saying? Philodendron Bullmax Fantasy. That's it. And well, I'll post a video for you guys to get the 411 on that. That's a long story, but it's still alive, thankfully. In front of it is my Alocasia Maharani. This one has just put out this massive leaf. I'm obsessed with it right now. I'm so happy it's happy. The veins literally glow, and this is the texture. It's crazy fabulous, right? Next to that is my Alocasia sinuata. This is another one that's on the struggle bus for the longest while. It seems to be feeling a little happier. It has put out a new leaf there. This is one that's telling me that it's not happy. My Alocasia heterophylla or Alocasia dragon's breath. It started yellowing on the edges as well as getting some brown spots as you see there on the left, but the majority of the leaves for the most part look great. This one is super huge, but I know it's adjusting. It's also a little floppy. Right below that is my Alocasia micholitziana. This one is not really showing any signs of being stressed, and that's my variegated money tree. This one needs a repot now, but it's doing well here. Or I should say, just no change really in a negative way. My begonia Sinbad, that's this one, is really loving it. It actually needs an up pot, but this begonia next to it, I'll pop the name on the screen, is not really loving it. It has lost all the lower foliage, but it really is a keeper for me, so I want to keep a close eye on it to bring it back. To the front here is one of my Florida ghost propagations. I have about 4 or 5 of them here. They have all shooted in this location. Granted, they were rooted at the previous location, but new leaves started popping out here. This is my reverted Syngonium chiapense. I have seen a new leaf forming, so I'm hoping the variegation comes back. It is a pretty small plant, so I'm really hoping for the best with that one. This is my philodendron Hederacia marble. This one has real good variegation now. It is receiving more light and loving it. It is now trailing from the top of this shelf all the way down. There are some all green leaves, but the majority of the plant itself has variegated leaves that just keep getting brighter and brighter. So it's not one I'm worried about. Just behind that is my Monstera sultipicana. This was a massive, bushy, long plant, and I just chopped and propped it and took it all the way back to a small plant that's a little more manageable for me. I know it's quite resilient and will grow back to that size, so I wasn't too worried about chopping back. Some of the plants I really had to chop back in preparation to move them all over and fit everything into the greenhouse. And while that was one of them that I took all the way back, these are just my Florida Ghost props that I mentioned. The rest of them are on the shelf just below. That's the newest leaf on one. The variegation is on point, so I know they are okay in this spot right now. All of them are shooting. Here's another one that's now pushing another leaf, and well, this one is almost all the way out. And the variegation looks really nice and creamy white. This is the last of the lot. This is one of my Anthurium forgetii. I believe it's the silver stripe one. That one was declining, so I brought it down here to keep an eye on it. And this is my, what is this one again? It is Hamalomena wallisii. That's what it is. This has such an interesting setup. I have it growing in 100% leca, just in a dish filled with water, and it's pushing new leaves. It's crazy. This is a philodendron, Red Anderson prop, and this is my Synapsis silvery Ann, as well as a Synapsis silver lady. These are the bunch of platinum, Synapsis platinum, and some Synapsis dark form, as well as the Synapsis jade satin aurea. All of these are props on this shelf. These are some Hoyas. I actually prop these. I have a Hoya video coming up soon that'll just explain the setup and how I ended up doing things like this. But these are all a couple Hoyas and New Guinea Ghost. I have over a dozen Synapsis platinum plants, and in between there, you're going to see some Synapsis trubii. That's these here. Next to this stand is the last stand, and to the bottom here is my Dischidia numularia and my dragon jade that is set on some driftwood, my Calathea lemon lime or Maranta lemon lime. That one is not doing the greatest, which I expected. Any sort of change, I find they react. They are quite fickle, but once they're happy, they really, really grow beautifully. This is my Alocasia cuprea, and somehow a black velvet got in there. This is my string of hearts, and behind that is another philodendron Red Anderson proper that has pushed out 2 leaves at the same time, which is weird, but I'm happy to see life. That's my Alocasia aslanii that went totally missing, but I'm seeing evidence of new growth, so that's good news. On the next level up is my Begonia maculata that has just put out this gorgeous pink leaf. This has been a long time favorite of mine. Behind that is my Monstera Peru, and To the top of that, behind all my anthurium leaves, that's an alocasia I'm still yet to figure out, but that's another mellow to the back there. Behind the curtain of anthurium pallidiflorum leaves, as well as my vitirifolium that's above anthurium vitirifolium. The pallidiflorum is almost touching the floor. I absolutely love this plant, and it is desperately in need of a repot. That's my Hoya Matilda, and next to it is my Hoya Sunrise, and behind that is a reverted Eskimo. This is another one that I had to completely cut back because it just got so tall. It was like 12 feet tall, my Philodendron Andrianum. So you saw the first proper at the beginning of this video. This is the bud cut that is shooting already, and to the side of it is what I thought was a reverted white princess, but that seems to be bringing back in, or some variegation is actually coming back in. To the back here is actually the top cut of the Philodendron Andrianum, and this is the newest leaf. So this one is also primarily growing out of the Cococoya pole, but I removed the bottom two leaves from the stem, and I'm currently trying to root that in soil. To the top of this shelf is my Hoya Super Eskimo. It's currently growing in semi-hydro, and the leaves are really super silver. This one definitely doesn't disappoint at all. The leaves are almost completely silver with just like some speckling of green. I do have a reverted strand that I'm contemplating on chopping and adding to the pot of reverted Eskimo just to your right there. You can see it a little down below. This is my colocasia mojito that is finally growing for me. It receives a lot of sunlight and is performing in leca, and that was my Hoya sigillatus next to it. And this one, I can't remember the name of it, but this one is definitely making a comeback. I'll throw up on the screen what it's coming back from. That video has the full story. In front of it is another white princess, and this is my colocasia Hilo Beauty. This one is growing in Le Chusapon with a leca reservoir, and right next to it is my variegated Musa that I am completely obsessed with. I think the red edges and midrib just really does it for me. This one I definitely didn't want to mess up the watering, so I brought it down because it can be quite fickle from what people have told me. But the variegation is really, really stunning and has been consistent. Next to it is my Hoya rotundiflora, and next to that is an alocasia I can't remember the name of. Below that is my Epipremnum amplissimum silver, or silver streak pothos. I absolutely love this one. I find it a great alternative to bamboo. And next to it is my alocasia stingray. That's another one that's a long time love for me. And underneath that is a Hoya. And that was the last plant of the tour. Now, after I filmed this video, I brought a couple boxes down again. Don't ask me where they're all going to fit, but at least you have things to look forward to. Also, as promised in the intro, I mentioned that I'd reveal where I bought all my plants from. So basically, if you head over to my Instagram, all the plants, or the majority of my plants that are in my collection, are posted to my profile. In the description of each one, you will find the seller information there. So hopefully that information is useful to you guys. And if, of course, you're looking for one that I don't have or you didn't see on my profile, please comment below and I'll be happy to help you source it if that's the case. So thank you so much for viewing. If you are new here, thank you for joining us. If you are returning, thank you so much for coming back. Any video suggestions, please drop them down in the comments below. Please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. It really lets me know that this is something you guys want to watch.